Hi all, and welcome to our first ever SCA Queensland video update. I'm SCA Queensland General Manager Laura Boss, and I'm absolutely to be virtually meeting you all. I know I've had the pleasure of meeting many of you at some of our recent events, but for those who I haven't met, hi, this is about the first time you will be meeting me in a somewhat personal, albeit impersonal manner. It's been a real pleasure over the past few weeks to engage with a variety of SCA Queensland members at a host of different events. It was a great thrill for me to meet some new members at the Golf Day, which is an amazing social function if you've not ever been, and to talk to them not only about the value of SCA, but also the things that they feel that the sector needed to reform. The issues around Northern Insurance have featured highly, as have issues around management rights, development reviews, and a whole raft of legislative reforms that are coming our way. It seems that even on social occasions, our strata sector is absolutely committed to making change, and indeed I'm finding that it is an incredibly issues-rich environment. We also recently participated in the Strata in Conversation, which SCA Queensland held in conjunction with Kelly and Partners, and I thank them very much for inviting us to join with them at that event. We had a great discussion with the panel, which included Attorney General Shannon Fentiman, and we are pleased to say that she was effusively in support of SCA Queensland and is indeed very across many of the issues that are important to our members, and is demonstrating a genuine and passionate commitment to change. Attending the SCA Queensland Education Day this month, it was also terrific to hear about issues at the coalface where strata managers feel they need more training and guidance, or even legislative change. The complexity and nuance of strata management never ceases to amaze me. And I always feel that the feedback from members is incredibly valued, because it does help me to understand their jobs and also the challenges of their roles. Unfortunately, the sad death of the Queen has meant that the federal and state parliamentary sittings were cancelled. And that has meant that, regrettably, the Bugda and other legislation amendment bill did not quite make it through Parliament this time. This bill substantially changes the way Bugda legislation operates and will have significant implications for around 600 schemes across Queensland. Talking to strata managers, I think it's fair to say that the strata management business has at least one Bugda scheme on their books. So whoever drew the short and or long straw, depending on how you look at it, will have to navigate these changes. The good news is these changes bring many elements of Bugda in line with similar elements of the BCCMA, and hopefully that will make your life as a strata manager a little easier. This is an important moment for strata. We are on the mind of government. Pleasing to see were the references to SCA Queensland in our positions through the parliamentary process in relation to the Bugda reforms. Our appearance at the Legal Affairs and Safety Committee was well received, and several parliamentarians were happy to meet with us and to listen and hear our concerns. Broadly speaking, if you do manage a Bugda scheme, the vast majority of changes seek to substantially harmonise many commensurate actions of the Bugda and with the BCCMA. These include new information and education services, including services from the Office of the Commissioner, enhanced dispute resolution provisions which closely mirror that of the BCCMA, very stringent requirements on conflicts of interest for committee members, and these are extremely far-reaching and go well beyond the requirements of the BCCMA. These will oblige bodies corporate constituted under the Bugda to commence recovery litigation after 2 years and 2 months, which I think will be a welcome change. These changes were all developed in consultation with SCA Queensland, and we have been very proud to have contributed to what we believe is a marked improvement on previous legislation. There is possibility of harmonisation of the BUGDA with the BCCMA further in the future. However, these reforms represent a really good start. Recently, a workshop with Deloitte on behalf of SCA Queensland. These workshops were all around bullying and harassment, and I want to thank them for their time. So thank you, Julie McCarthy, David Midwood, George Salom, and Pedzi Moande for their volunteering their time and energy, giving up a Thursday morning to speak about the all too common instances of bullying and harassment in the strata sector. They gave a great account of our organisation, and they gave terrific personal accounts of some of the issues that they are facing and that indeed many of their colleagues have been facing. We hope to see positive strata reforms in this area and indeed make the entire community a much more harmonious and much more pleasant environment in which to work. We await with interest the release of the discussion paper into the review of the role of the developer in the Queensland economy. Strata managers have at times a difficult relationship with property developers. You manage the end product they produce and the people who live in it, but often many of the problems faced or created in strata date back to actions taken by the original owner. We hope to make a positive contribution to ensure that there is appropriate oversight of matters like contracts and building quality when it comes to developers. It is important to remember that significant and potentially disruptive changes are afoot to Queensland tenancy law. From October 1, changes will come into effect which will make it much easier to rent with a pet, even in a strata scheme. Changes making it easier for renters to have a pet include a renter can seek the property owner's permission to keep a pet, and property owners can only refuse the request on identified reasonable grounds, such as keeping the pet would breach laws or bylaws. The property owner must respond to a request for a pet in writing within 14 days, or consent is implied. The property owner's consent may be subject to reasonable conditions, such as the pet being kept outside. A rent increase or a pet bond are not reasonable conditions. Many residential tenancies are in strata title or body corporate properties. Whilst many schemes have attempted to pass blanket laws and blanket bans on pets, these have not been upheld by adjudicators' orders. Common conditions include keeping the animal free from pests, off the common property, and ensuring it doesn't make excessive noise. There is obviously a gap between the 14-day implied consent and the 6 weeks a committee now has to make approval. Last week, SCA Queensland released a pro forma letter you can send to committees to help them to manage this problem. We are working with government to possible solutions to this issue, and upcoming reforms to strata law will likely make it harder again to place excessive restrictions on pets. If you didn't get the pro forma, please feel free to reach out to SCA and we will give you a copy. Check out the links at the end of this email for our terrific media coverage on management rights, which I know has been very topical in the industry, and also our commentary and support around making the housing situation in Queensland a little easier. We believe SCA Queensland members and the lessons we've learned over our in excess of 40 years managing strata communities is going to be a terrific asset to assisting the government and all other stakeholders in developing more strata communities and making community title living much more attractive, which we think will help to alleviate the crisis going forward. Thank you. If you have any questions or you want to have a chat, please do not hesitate to contact me at SCA Queensland, and I'll look forward to seeing you hopefully at some of our end of year networking functions coming up soon, and certainly at the mini debates, which I'm sure are going to be an absolute cracker. Thank you.